Of the late Ambassador Nathi Mthethwa now hope to receive his autopsy results today. His remains are still with the French authorities as the process to determine his cause of death is still underway. The 58-year-old fell from a 22nd floor hotel room in the French capital last week. Meanwhile, a team of South African investigators that is due to help with the probe hasn't yet left for Paris. Newzroom Afrika's international correspondent Simon Marks joins us now live from Paris. Simon, good afternoon to you. You're actually at the Bois de Delville, where Mthethwa performed one of his final duties as our ambassador. He was there to commemorate the deaths of South Africans who died fighting in France in the First World War. At the time, he couldn't have known that he'll be joining them so soon.
Well, this is an astonishing sight, Stephen. This is the South African War Memorial in the Bois de Delville. I'm about 2 hours' drive north of Paris, and this was the location, quite literally, for the ambassador's last big set-piece event in his post. He came here on Sunday a week ago, so 8 days ago, to commemorate the 109th anniversary of the Battle of the Somme, that terrible 1916 battle that was so absolutely pivotal during the First World War, and in which South African soldiers fought, died, and were wounded. Over 1,000 South African soldiers from both world wars, the first and the second, are honoured at this memorial and in a war graves cemetery not far from where I'm standing, and 1,000 South Africans who were wounded during the two great wars. And so the ambassador was here with some veterans, with members of the South African community in France, and laid flowers at the memorial here in the Bois de Delville. This entire area, this entire part of France is surrounded by war graves cemeteries. Just down the road, there's one for soldiers from New Zealand who fought during the First World War. Throughout this area, as I drove here, you pass these war graves cemeteries on either side of the road, and they are incredibly moving. And it is being reported that the ambassador said to people who were present at this ceremony 8 days ago that he was distressed by the fact that some of the soldiers who were buried in that war graves cemetery, that their spirits had never been fetched and returned to their families. It's also reported that in the days leading up to his apparent decision to take his own life, he reported to family members that he had had a dream, his late father telling him a message to come to him, to his late father. And family members here in France are certainly saying that all of that is very much in keeping with his own culture. As we know, family members are travelling to Paris to fetch the ambassador's spirit back from the Hyatt Regency Hotel there, where he fell to his death either 6 or 7 days ago. It's still unclear as to the precise timing of that. But I have to say, standing here and walking through those rows of markers that honour fallen soldiers from a number of different countries, including several South Africans, it is very easy to understand why the ambassador would have been deeply moved while he was here. His widow said to me a few days ago that he stayed longer here than they had planned, that he was so preoccupied by what was taking place here and enjoying the company of the South Africans and the veterans who were with him that day, that he stayed longer here. Now, the big question, of course, remains, why did Nathi Mthethwa take his own life? Pretty clear that that's where the French police investigation is going in terms of its conclusion. And it may well be that, given he was apparently entirely happy in his professional career, and the family says certainly there was nothing in his personal life that they knew of that contributed to that decision, it may be that some of those incidents that are now being reported in the last few days of his life contributed to some sort of mental anguish that led him to the Hyatt Regency in the centre of Paris. All of that, of course, is now going to be subject to the French investigation that's underway and the South African investigation, which we now know is delayed. I was told over the weekend by one government official that the 5 members of the South African Police Service had arrived. They were already on French soil. And in fact, we now know that is not the case. They are still trying to secure paperwork from the French authorities to allow them to travel here. All of that has the possibility, clearly, to extend the investigation into the ambassador's death and potentially to delay the repatriation of his remains by the family to South Africa.
Simon, still so many questions. Now questions, of course, about the police investigation from our side. And in the end, all the family, I'm sure, want is his remains to come home and then to be able to say goodbye, to have some sense of closure.
Yes, I think that is their priority, and they have been very clear about that. They were delighted, if that's not the right word, obviously under the circumstances, but they were happy to receive the death certificate over the weekend because that was a piece of paper that they urgently required in order to be able to at least begin the process of repatriating the remains. But as far as we know, those remains are still in a government mortuary. The South African investigators, when they get to France, are sure to want to perhaps inspect the remains as part of their investigation into what happened to Nathi Mthethwa. The family really has 2 priorities. The clear one is to get his remains back to South Africa. And before that can happen, the Fetching the Spirit ritual needs to take place at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Paris where he died. And we don't exactly know when that is going to happen. Their other priority is to find out why investigators believe that he took the action that he took either last Monday night in that hotel room or in the early hours of Tuesday morning. We may get some more clues from the autopsy if it's released to the public. It's still not clear to me whether that will be publicly released. I'm still trying to find out from the French authorities when exactly that autopsy might be concluded. It may offer some fresh indications of what led the South African ambassador to end his life. But certainly the more we learn about his last few days and learn about his trip to the Bois Delville, to this South African War Graves Memorial, the more it becomes apparent that he was telling some family members, over the last 2 or 3 days of his life, that he had this dream involving his father calling him to him, and also that he was very, very touched by what he witnessed here Sunday 1 week ago.
Thank you very much indeed. Simon Marks live there at that historic site, just commemorating the passing of these South Africans who died there over 100 years ago, and of course, the passing of our ambassador Nathi Mthethwa just last week.